like whole trip because if one thing me and my partners did, we came to hoe and go. If you just going and not hoeing, hey baby, you might need to wait for the church retreat. You might not need to come on this trip.
You ain't gotta hoe. Everybody do what they want to do. I'm pro-choice.
No, because when you not pro-hoe, you're anti-hoe. I'm sorry. If you're not pro-hoe, you're anti. And you are not welcome up in here. We are supporters of sluts, whores, dick suckers, and all things above, okay?
I like my women like that too, so I ain't gonna be.
What she talking about the girl trips? This is why I've always said Miami, Cabo, Houston, Fort Lauderdale, because y'all try to act like that's different.
Yeah.
Look, to get to South Beach, you need to fly into Fort Lauderdale because the prices are cheaper. That's a note for all the ladies. Let me tell y'all something. This is why y'all girls trips fail every time. Because if 6 of y'all is going, 2 is there to really get it cracking every night.
Yeah, they going to go do the ho ho ho.
And there's 2 of y'all that's just, y'all there because y'all got money. And y'all,
then of course it's 2 there that got boyfriends, so they trying not to get in trouble.
Absolutely.
Sometimes the 2 with the boyfriends are the 2 that's really going to go get it cracking.
Absolutely. Sometimes they the same person. So I laugh at y'all because I'm like, bruh, y'all gotta know what y'all there for. But
at what age do you outgrow the whole trips? Let's do male and female.
Okay, if I had to guess for the ladies,
yeah,
they probably need to stop at like 31.
You gonna give them the 31 to go on a whole trip?
Yeah.
I did not do a bunch of 28-year-olds on a whole trip.
Are you talking in the mic?
Yeah, a bunch of 28-year-olds
there you go.
in a whole trip. That's long. I don't know. I think fellas need to stop it at about 25. Now I know men do like the out of town trip, the Rios and shit. But I don't think that should be like a whole trip. I think that should just be like, yo, fellas, just out of town. Like, you probably should stop sharing rooms with other men at least at the age of 26.
Okay.
So I don't think that's a whole trip anymore.
Well, so all right, here's the thing about dudes. I think dudes need to stop doing. Dudes gonna do that as long as they single. I'm sorry.
What, share a room?
No. Go on group trips and try to get laid.
I don't even think it's like going out of town. So like last 2 times that I've been somewhere, like I was supposed to go, like one of my homeboys, and I just ended up going by myself. But it's like it wasn't like a group trip. Like if we was all say, all right, yo, let's go down to Rio, next year. that ain't a whole trip. That's just us going to Rio. Boy, like getting yourself in trouble.
Hey man, look man, I'm
over here trying to shoot early bail, trying to get everybody prepared for us to go to Rio, and Gavin's like,
take me to Rio. Look man, I'm a great.
Not a whole trip. It's not a whole trip.
But men go on trips to get laid, and I think here's my thing with that. Men are cool with that. It's like, bro, we don't even have to talk. Yo, you trying to get some ass while we down here? It's like, bro, if it happens, it happens. If it don't, it don't. And so for the ladies, the reason why I'm giving them the 30 because now women are like, yo, they're getting older and they are like, they getting money and they like, oh, I want to travel. So if they do decide to get laid, cool. Now the whole trips, I guess let me re-answer this. The whole trips, like I'm coming out here to get slanged out. They got to stop at 24.
Yeah, you can't really do that in your late 20s. Look, you can go get laid, but like the idea of going to do like that spring break type stuff, that bite week things that we used to do. Yo, like, nah, man, I ain't gonna lie. Me at 20s, I mean, look, I was still a Thotimus prime for a minute. But I had cut out the whole trips, though. Probably about 23, 24.
Yeah. I mean, I never got that because none of my homeboys have money. Let's keep it real. By the time I start hanging out with you, that's let me tell y'all something. I start hanging out with Mike. I let them niggas in the dirt. I let them niggas back in college. I was like, oh, we done here. I don't think when you took us, this gonna sound like a bird, if not a bird trip at all. When Mike took us to Atlanta, I told you, it sound like a bird trip. I don't think I ever went on a trip after that with the dudes from college. Because then after that, we started going to Miami. Then Mike decided to leave me and Ez in the dirt. So me and Ez had to go to Cancun and Rio by ourselves and Toronto. Mike had to grow up. That's the sucky part about having an older homeboy. They want to grow up, so you force to do it yourself. And that's what we had to do. I would welcome y'all to the podcast, but first, Mr. Somebody from the Simp Mount Rushmore has a lot to get off his chest. And I like this. We ain't gonna play the whole thing, but y'all see what we're doing here.
A lot of women, especially black women, and I might get in trouble for saying this, but I will. In our society right now, black women are making a lot more money for the most part than black men. right? There are a lot of black men who are successful, but for the most part, black women are making the money. So if you can find love, if that man works, at whatever job, and is a good man and is good to you, and honors the house and honors his wife and does what he can, because his gift may not be your gift.
Exactly.
That is okay. That's not somebody who's beneath you.
Yeah.
That's somebody who came to love you at your worth. It was
close.
Right?
Yeah.
And as long as he's secure in himself to know that, yep, she makes most of the money, all I can pay is the light bill. As long as she's comfortable enough to say, I'm going to cover the mortgage and all the other stuff, you've handled the light bill, baby, you can take me to dinner every now and then. That is fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Low key, it sounds like one of our previous pods. And I ain't even talking about last week's episode because he made this last week. But we've been saying this for a minute.
We've been saying this since the No Grease event. We said it like 2 weeks before that.
Yeah.
I can always tell who got money, even though we know Tyler Perry got money because we've seen drone footage of his crib. I can always tell how much money you got by the couches when I go into your crib.
Yeah.
All right. I want to ask this. Do women actually out earn men? Black women and black men?
Per every metric, no.
So why is that a narrative? Because we've heard him say this. We heard Ebony K. Williams say this.
Per every metric.
And for me, it's bothersome because every time I turn around, is pay gap, is wage gap this, is black women don't make this. So I don't understand how two things can be true.
At the same time, well, both can be true if you have a villain that is the black male, right?
Okay.
Like, you know what I'm saying? When you make the black man the villain, you can honestly say that. You could be like, yo, the sky is pink. It's black man's fault. People be like, yo, sky is pink. Fuck black men. Like, that's the environment that we live in. So, yeah, they can make anything true. I mean, no, are women out earning black men? No. I think a lot of times what happens is women date men that make similar money to them, but because they live a subsidized lifestyle, they think they out earn men.
I love that we never dig deep into how women live.
Yeah,
like
they live a subsidized lifestyle, right? So if they do have a child, like I have a child, I'm not getting any support, right? I'm handling it on my own, right? If a woman is doing that, it's like, oh, the kids cost so much, I'm not getting any help, right? So then she will get help, right? She'll get subsidized, child care, right? Through child support, right? Yeah. Or, if she goes on dates, if a woman goes on a date with a man, if a woman goes on 3 or 4 dates, matter of fact, I was on this young lady's profile. I wish I knew how you had it mapped out. I would have had it pulled up.
Is she cute?
She is attractive. She has 2 kids. She's divorced. She lives in Atlanta, and she gives advice on dating, right? So she goes into how she goes out on a Sunday and how she selects men, right? And she had like 3 or 4 dates that week, right?
I respect it.
So here's the thing, right? She's gonna go out 3 or 4 times. These guys are gonna drop between $150 and $250, right?
Smart.
So that's between $450 and $750.
Nice.
That she does not have to come out of her pocket, right? But she's going to take pictures, right? She's going to show that she's out. She's going to tag herself everywhere. If you live that kind of life for a while, after a while, you start thinking that that's your life, right? You start thinking, and what happens is, like most entertainment budgets, I know we're going into the weeds a little bit. Entertainment is for most people, is about between 20 and 25% of their income.
Okay.
Right? Men are spending that money, right? Women are receiving that money.
Facts.
So it's easy for a woman that makes $60,000 a year to live the lifestyle of a woman that she thinks she's making 90 because she's everywhere.
The funny part is we got 2 narratives. Black women out earn black men, and there's the narrative that black women don't make as much as black men. Now, the Department of Labor, who actually do this year over year, says that the average salary for black men is $43,000. The average salary for black women is $40,000. That is super similar. So that means we're both underpaid. And it's very hard to find statistics that say to compare black men and black women. I want everybody to know that, and I think that's for a reason.
Yeah.
So I love these narratives. And like Mike said, black men cannot afford to date multiple black women throughout the year. Like you can't. If I make 43 and you make 40 and we both have a mortgage, we both have a car, we both have, responsibilities, but I can't date 6 women in 1 year.
No, but she could date 6 guys, right? So in her mind, right, in her it's actually her reality, right? In her reality, she could do all these things and you cannot afford to do those things for her. So even though y'all make the same amount of money, she's like, yo, you're not on my level, right? Because her level is, 6 different dates, a month. Your level is I can only take you out twice a month, right? But she's not saying, well, I'm not paying for any of this. Well, not at least with money, right?
Yeah.
She's saying that like, yo,
Ow.
this is the lifestyle that I'm living. You can't provide it. So what does she want? She wants a man that makes way more money.
You know, I did see the pushback from black women asking why did Tyler Perry single them out and talk about them. And I saw this whole thing of, yo, only black women are asked to settle. I am here to say he was strictly speaking on financial. So if we're looking at that, and if black men have historically out-earned black women, it looks like black men have been quote unquote settling since then. If we're going financial. Also, I want to say this. Tyler Perry singled y'all out because he's on the simp Mount Rushmore, and he's been pandering y'all for the last 25 years.
And he sees, like the results of that, right?
Yeah.
Like that it's not really, you ladies aren't really getting the results that you want. And I tell you guys all the time, if a woman makes more money than you shouldn't be paying for anything. Period, point blank.
Well, I tried that. My wife made me pay for all the dinner. And we're going out this weekend. And we're going to see, the funny part is we're going to see Drake tomorrow. I bought the tickets. I wonder who's going to pay for the drinks. Baby, if you listening.
Baby, she needs to be
It's
paying
too
for
late.
drink. Baby got to pay for the drinks.
If you're listening to this, it's too late.
Baby got to pay for all the drink and drink up too. Like don't hold back because it's on her tab. Be like,
Absolutely.
nah, I want the freaking Remy.
Absolutely. Y'all, I want to welcome everybody to the Black Dads Club. This is your host, Pastor Mike. I want to send a special shout out to Quita and James. I shot their wedding this weekend. They are avid listeners to the podcast. They're on a honeymoon right now. I want to thank y'all. I want to let y'all know I loved y'all. It was amazing working with y'all. Seeing that love, seeing that energy was amazing that day. And it was hilarious for y'all to talk jokes about the pod on your wedding day.
Oh, that is awesome.
Somebody asked about Pastor Mike, which I found hilarious. Our last consultation I had with Quita, I was talking to her and she said, Gavin, I listened to the podcast. You can stop code switching. And I was trying to be super professional, man.
Trying to be professional?
Yeah, she was like, man, if you don't turn that shit off. But it was super fun to be there, to witness that, to be with y'all family.
That's awesome,
I do
man.
want to let
I
y'all
love
know.
black love. I can't wait to be
Absolutely, man.
remarried.
Look, I can't wait for that too, because I'm going to be drunk at your wedding.
Here's the. I'm gonna be drunk at my wedding. Here's the thing. Like people think that because we give everybody all their credit that like we're like anti-marriage. Like no, I'm pro-marriage. Now look, it's a lot of risk with marriage, but it's a lot of risk with anything that you do. And if you're going to have children, you have to at least give you have to want to give your child two parents. All right,
Facts.
You know what I'm saying? Like if you just want to have children and you're like, yo, I want to have kids, but I don't want to raise them, or if I want to have kids and I don't want to deal with the man. You're a very selfish individual.
Like Kirk Franklin mama.
Ooh, that's a good segue.
Like Kirk Franklin mama. If y'all have not, please go on YouTube. Click on Kirk Franklin's page. He has a doc called Father's Day, and it is interesting to say the least.
It's interesting.
It is not that long, so you can get through it pretty quick.
Yeah, it's like 35 minutes. I think he has two. He has one that's like an hour and 5, and the other one that's like 35.
So let's give a backstory in the doc. If you do not know, Kirk Franklin, he's definitely in gospel's Mount Rushmore.
Absolutely.
It's like not even a debate. He is up there. He's still doing music. One of my favorite Kirk Franklin quotes is, to the old regime of the church, pass the baton and don't die with it. I'm just going to say my church organization did not hear that part.
They didn't hear that.
But it was cool. We're going to let that rock. But so I'm watching the doc, and Kirk Franklin is doing a new album, and somebody died that he knew, and he did not go to the funeral. A man comes up to a person who works with Kirk Franklin at the funeral and said, hey, in passing, according to Kirk Franklin, said, hey, I used to date Kirk Franklin's mom as a child. Yeah. And the lady told Kurt, and Kurt was like, okay, well, cool. And she said, well, the dude said he slept with your mom. And Kirk Franklin ran a DNA test, found out that was his father.
Because the rumors started, in the church.
Yeah.
If anybody go to church, they know that how rumors, start.
They be good, too.
And it got back to the guy, and the guy was like, hey, I'll give him my DNA. If he ever wants to test against it,
that's on him.
It'll already be there. Kurt tested against it, and what happened?
Found out it was his dad. Spoke to his mom.
99.09% match.
And so, all right, let's get into the doc.
Yeah.
I guess the first thing that stuck out to me was, let me ask you, what was the first thing that stuck out to you?
So one of the things that I, as I'm getting older, one of the things that I always try to do is remember what it was like when I was young. Right. So I try not to be like the old fogey that's just like always like, yo, my way is better. Right. I try to remember when I was young and I was talking to someone and they had no understanding of me. So when I see old people talk, I try to imagine what that person was like, you know, as a teenager.
Okay.
So the first thing that stood out with me, you know, outside of the fact that, you know, his aunt's rude, right?
Oh yeah, I'm unleashed.
Right.
On her.
Like the one thing that stood out to me it was like, well, these were young people, right? And
These
that
are
was
kids, damn it. That's what it felt like.
Yeah, and this was during a time frame where, you know, teenage pregnancy was, you know, not looked on kindly. He's probably right out of, you know, the apartheid. He's in Texas. So I had sympathy of the whole situation, right? Of Kirk being raised by an older relative, by his mom not raising him. Like I at the beginning of it, I didn't look at it like, yo, she's a terrible mom because somebody has raised their kids, because that was kind of normal.
That was
during
normal
time
back
frame.
then.
You know, so I was like, I was just like, okay, well, let's listen to more. Let's find more out. So when we find out, and then we find out that, like, you know, oh, he never even saw his mom. Even Dad didn't even.
That threw me off.
But see, even Dad, I was just like, well, shit. During this time frame, if somebody else is raising him, right, and he's only seeing his mom a few times a year, it's still that kind of small town, you know, 1960s, 1970s
Drug era.
Yeah, you know, people aren't raising their kids when they're fully adopted.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, you know, I know that there's no such thing as a bad mom, you know, according to society. So I'm still haloing his mom a little bit at this point.
Yeah.
Right. I still kind of understand where she's coming from. But I started feeling bad for Kurt once that crazy clip show. And that's when I was like, all right, I got to go watch a documentary where where he's showing his mom that, like, hey, this guy is my father. And she's like, no, that's impossible.
So I didn't have a problem with that.
You didn't have a problem with that?
Nah, I really didn't. And I'm going to tell you why. I know I saw people making a big deal like, damn, he had to go get a second DNA test. Well, you got to understand, his mom don't trust him. He don't trust his mom. If I don't trust you, I'm not going to trust that you putting something in my face on a documentary that you're producing and I'm signing NDAs and release forms. I'm not going to trust everything you show me is fair.
You know what?
And out of place.
That's a valid point.
If it was me, if I was in a situation, a girl said, hey, you the dad, here's a DNA test, I took your toothbrush, I'm going to be like, my father is going to be like, nah, bro, we're going to go get a test and we're going to be there.
Yeah.
So I wasn't mad at that. Now, her reaction after the second test let me know that his mom wasn't shit. Like, let's go. I think we need to create a space where we have to start saying, yo, you are a shitty parent.
Yes.
You are a shitty mom. You are a shitty dad. Now, let me tell you what first threw me off. Back in the day, we used to take people albums as truth.
Yes.
Right? Now these rappers say anything. You know
Yeah. We understand it now.
I sold
they're actors.
2,000 bricks in 2 days.
Yeah.
And I didn't go to, I'm telling y'all about it. There's a video of a rapper who says that some HBCU offered him $10 million to be on their drum line, and they fry him up every time. It's like the wildest lie ever talking about rappers, right? I remember the Kirk Franklin CD. This was actually on a CD, where they have this skit of his mom dropping him off at his grandmother's house and just leaving.
Yeah.
And I just remember thinking that, damn, Kirk Franklin was raised that way. I think at the very beginning, I didn't realize how traumatic his life was, because the Kirk Franklin I knew, and I actually had a chance to meet Kirk Franklin when I worked at the hotel.
Yeah.
And I told him, I said, yo, I used the term inspiration, but I told him it was so dope to meet him, because I'm like, bro, you shaped my childhood.
Yeah.
Because only thing we could listen to was gospel right?
Music, yeah.
Only.
Yeah.
Only. I need y'all to understand what.
And Kirk
only
was like borderline gospel music.
Oh, trust me, Kirk Franklin, it was a bunch of churches, my pastor included, who got up there and said, stop playing that. Especially when that New Nation project came out. He had rappers on the song. He was like, yo, don't y'all play that shit. But Kirk Franklin, he was teetering.
Yeah.
I always love to say Kirk Franklin was gospel's Lil Jon.
Yes.
Right? But with that, I didn't realize how deep the trauma went. You know what I'm saying?
But,
For your mom to drop you off so your mom don't care. For your grandmother, it doesn't seem like that was just the happiest place for you.
You don't know who your father is.
Well, you thought this man was your father, and you had so much anger towards this man just to realize after you buried him and you've been angry with him for years, that years later you find out this ain't even your dad.
That's not even my dad.
You gave that man hell, and that man had nothing.
And then made peace, at the end, and you've lost them. And then you find out, like, yo, this is not even.
Then the relationship he got with his own son.
Yeah.
It's like this man has dealt with trauma so much. And, he said something. He said, I guarantee my therapist has the longest running, client relationship out of everybody because I've been going to her for the last 20 something, almost 30 years. And, it's interesting. But yeah, I wasn't mad at the mom thing. But yeah, his mom, I do want to have this conversation of who's more disappointed than you, his mom or his aunt?
Gosh, man.
We know who did more damage.
Yeah. I mean, his aunt talking to him like he's a child all the time.
Oh,
right?
my God.
Despite the fact that this man, had, to your point, right? He's on the Gospel Mount Rushmore. He's one of the biggest entertainers, right? I'm not saying that Kirk Franklin is Michael Jackson, but he's definitely the gospel version of Michael Jackson.
Absolutely.
Right? So it's like he's a top 100 entertainer in this country. Right?
Absolutely.
So I mean, the fact I'm using entertainer for a gospel singer is indicative
It's let you
of
know
this
what
man's
time it's
career.
on.
So for him to not be treated well, right? And I'm gonna say something about Kirk. I'm not letting Kirk 100% off the hook here.
Okay.
It's coming.
Wait till my final thoughts.
Yeah, it's coming. But to see him being treated like that, right, and have to endure that, it was disheartening. So I think the aunt had an opportunity to do healing, and she chose not to, right? Whereas the mom, I don't know what has transpired in the mom life. I can tell you that she's probably has dealt with her own traumas, right?
Absolutely.
Which is why she's creating more trauma. You know what the saying is, right? Hurt people hurt people.
Facts.
So she's a hurt person, and she's hurting Kurt, right? And then Kurt is a hurt person, right? Kurt's hurting his son. I think it's something that, we do have to recognize as individuals. And I know this is not a parenting pod, but, I had asked my son to give his teacher something because I'm not getting the teacher emails. So I was like, hey, I need you to get a teacher, my email address so I can get your emails, right? And he didn't do it yesterday, right? So I'm in the car and I'm upset with him because I'm like, why you didn't do it? And he was just like, well, I was upset, so I didn't do it. Now he told the truth, right? And I've always told my son, if you tell the truth, you're never gonna be in trouble.
Hated when my parents said that shit.
But I was annoyed, right? Yeah. So we got home, and I don't beat my son. But he had to run some laps, right? Because you didn't do something that I told you to do, right? So he had to run his laps. He was tired after about 20 minutes. I need to put him in run club because he actually ran the whole 20 minutes.
Shout out.
Yeah, I mean, don't worry, it wasn't hot. Guys, it's like 70 degrees. I'm watching him the whole way. But anyway, when we get back inside, when I go upstairs, I realized because he wanted this old controller. Like my son making little movies and stuff. Okay. So he wanted this old controller. He said, "I'm gonna make a movie out of it." Right. So when we was in the car, I told him, I said, "You know what? I'm sending it back." Right. So I was sending it back, and you had to do the punishment of running. So when I get back, he runs, and then when I get upstairs, I realized that I have told him that he tell the truth, he won't get in trouble. Right. So I had to go back to him and say, "You know what? I told you I was gonna send it back. I'm not, because you told the truth," right? Yeah. I had to make sure that I'm not hurting my son, right, because I'm pissed, right? So, and this is where I said all that to say hurt people hurt people. So when I watch Kirk's mom, when I watch Kirk's aunt, when I watch Kirk, right, everybody is passing along a little bit of their hurt.
Absolutely.
So I'm disappointed, in all honesty, all of them. Kirk, his son, right? Because somebody has to become the pillar of strength. Somebody has to be the person that says, you know what? Everything is going to stop with me, right? If I got to absorb it for everybody else, for nobody else to experience it, that's my job. And y'all know I always say on this pod, the reason why I say that men don't demand enough is because this is what I ask people that listen to this pod to do, right? To become stoic, right? To be able, in the face of discomfort, to be content. Because that way, the next generation can actually live a better life. And I don't think, I know Kirk was traumatized, right? And I tell you guys, yo, go to therapy. Because once you pass 30, 35, I want to hear about what your parents did to you.
And I was going, I I ain't put it on the list. I was definitely gonna press your ass about that. I said, God dang it, man.
Yeah.
I hate when shit don't go the way I planned it, man. I do this podcast very strategically. I put stuff in that I'm going to ask Mike because I need him to be prepared, but I plan on surprising his ass. And that was in my final thoughts. Like, how does it feel? I'm gonna say it like this. I knew what it was like as a man to go back to my mom, to go back to the women in my life, because my dad got it, right? But I knew what it was like to go back in the women in my life and say, hey, I'm no longer a child.
Yes.
Right? And that's
absolutely
that's a hard thing for women to see when you're a boy. And I get it now that I have a child, right?
Yeah.
Because sometimes my boy is only 2, but yo, he won't eat something if you try to feed it to him.
Yes.
He wants to grab the fork and, you know, you got to watch him make mistakes.
Yeah.
But I do have to remind myself he is getting older.
And you got to pull back like a little bit. And it does drive you mad.
It does. So I got when I was
Yeah.
18, my mom is still trying to tell me things. I remember when I was 25. I remember when I moved out my house and my mom said something to me and I was like, yo, I don't live with you anymore. You know what I'm saying? And you know, but to watch Kirk Franklin, we talking about Mount Rushmore. Let me tell y'all something. Platinum albums. We talking about tens of millions of albums. So for a gospel artist.
Yes.
When I knew
insane.
When I knew the dope boy in high school was listening to Kirk Franklin, I said, "This nigga's out of here. Kirk Franklin's out of here, right?" You talking about Grammy winning, the most decorated Grammy winner in gospel.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Like 15, 16 of them. Isn't
yeah,
it?
and you still going. For him to look and his aunt saying, "No, I'm not talking to you until you address me as aunt." Like who?
Yeah,
who
bring your ass in the house. Like to your point, right? Who woman? Who are you?
Who are you? I'm here for my mom, not even you.
Yeah.
And for that, you know, that was disappointing. And I am like you. I saw when I watched his mom, I said, damn, she got a lot of trauma going on. But you know, the most disappointing part for me for his mom, I know everybody's focusing on the 2 tests. There's a 5-second window when his aunt looks at his mom and says, all right, now he wants the truth.
He wants the truth.
And his mom
so we
got
know
up.
the truth. And she left, right? And
that means both of y'all knew the truth.
And you know, and what's crazy to me is, man, like one of the things that I think is going unsaid here is how often this happens, right? And I'm not just talking about like, you know, a woman putting a baby on a man that's not the father. I'm saying like someone has lied to you about something and tell that lie forever, right?
Facts.
And even when you have the evidence and truth and you sit down in front of them and then that's like gaslighting at the nth level, right?
Absolutely.
Like, nah, it's still not true.
Final thoughts from me. I gotta say this, and this is getting clipped. Kirk Franklin, you're an ill ass nigga, dog. I'm gonna tell you how. Kirk Franklin is officially the first man to produce our own doc to shame his mom to sell an album. That shit was unbelievable. I said, yo, and to get away with it, I said to sell an album, this man said, I'm about to trash my mom and my self-produced doc. That's why when you was like, oh, I liked it, I was like, because it's his cameras.
I didn't consider it. You're absolutely right.
And so it was from one point of view.
Yes.
It was only his story, his point of view, which I'm not mad at.
Yeah.
Now, one thing was mad at, and Mike can attest, I talked about this last week. I'm going to do it again. I don't know who y'all hired. That shit was out of focus. It was some color grading issues. And like I told the group chat, just hire your boy. Y'all see how we look. Mike Bronze is good.
Yeah, I'm bronze.
Look,
nice. Just hire Gavin. But that's a solid point. I didn't think about that. He
got away with it.
He is trashing his mother. But also, you know, Kurt has been more of a not seen as the most masculine man. And sometimes when you're not seen as the most masculine man, you can get away with the sassy stuff. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it is a wee bit sassy, but I mean, look, I feel bad for Kurt, but I always tell y'all, like, and look, I know,
what was his wife?
I know psychologists minding her business like she's supposed to on this crap. Stay out of this. Do not get your face in any of this ish. But as I always say, man, look, after 35, man, get your stuff together with your parents and your trauma and stuff. Nobody honestly cares, right? The person who traumatized you don't care anymore. You think Kurt mama give a damn? She does not give a damn.
There was a part of the video where he said, I hadn't spoken to my mom in the last 22 years. And at the end of the doc, it says that Kirk Franklin has not spoken to his mom in the last 2 years. One last thing before we get to Diddy. Kirk Franklin daddy got some money.
Yeah, Kirk Franklin daddy did okay for himself.
Look, I don't know if y'all saw the house. And let me tell you, pocket watching. I saw the man watch. The brother got some money.
Yeah, he did okay for, and you know, and again, that is sad. Gosh, man, you know what? We no, I'm gonna leave that alone.
All right. I don't know if y'all have listened to it. Please go check out Diddy's Love album. It is actually surprisingly good.
It is. It was good. It's good work.
It's not surprising in the fact that Diddy is one of the pioneers in R&B, but it was just the thing. Like, damn, to see an old head still be able to produce at this age was amazing.
It was what a Drake album used to be.
Absolutely, but this was super cool.
Yeah.
I think the coolest part for me was watching him at the MTV Awards, and he had his son up there who looks just like him, and they performing together. That to me was super dope. It was kind of cheesy at first, but I'm like, yo, this is what you're supposed to do. There is the topic of my man giving his masters back, and he's giving it back to a couple artists. A couple artists is upset. Speaking of one of the people who upset, hold on, let me let Aubrey O'Day. She need to stay off the
claims or
plastic surgery table,
wrongdoings
by the way.
or actions prior to the date of the release. I have to sign an NDA that I will never disparage Puff, Bad Boy, Janice Combs, or Justin Combs' music, or EMI, or Sony ever in public.
Okay.
So that you just got recently for this.
At least they say
I got it
in
a few
public.
months ago when he
Okay.
started doing this. So what's
What's the issue? If you want your masters,
If you want your masters, yeah, like yo, you're gonna have to not bash me. I mean, look, that's a business move. I'm not gonna hate on that. How many settlements are people signing off on?
NDAs.
And they're like, yo, I'm gonna give you the settlement. I'm not admitting guilt, and you can't talk about this shit. That's normal.
Aubrey, let me tell you something. I was a part of the, Mike was already in college. I was a part of the making the band era. All right. I was in high school. You was the third best singer, maybe fourth in your group. Sis, you was the most popular because you was blonde hair and you was the skinniest, and that was in style at that point for them dudes.
because she was a non-woman of color in a woman of color group.
Yeah,
so that kind of made her
it
unique.
wasn't. I don't think it was a woman of color group. It was 3 white girls in that group. And it was 2 black girls.
Was Danny the Kane?
Yeah, it was 5.
I thought the other 2 girls was on
Nope.
Hispanic.
One was Shannon, was super white.
Oh, I got
Aubrey O'Day.
Ariana Grande on that.
Yeah, oh, definitely. And then the girl who had the dark hair, she
Never
was
mind.
like Italian, but she was white. And I know y'all laughing. Y'all like, damn, he really was in that group. Shout out to Don. She was cool. Don could sing. She went to go do stuff with Diddy. I forgot the other black girl's name. I'm so mad because she was my favorite.
Yeah, she was
And then
pretty.
then you had the white girl with the dark hair. She was the best singer at the whole entire group. And then you had Aubrey, who was like the 4th best singer at the group. So I say that to say all 5 of y'all splitting the masters. So I know it's not great anyway. And also like, yo, you lucky they ain't put in there. You can't talk bad about MTV.
Yeah,
you can't talk about Viacom, like whatever. But if y'all so concerned with y'all masters, musical artists, yeah, go sign off on it.
No, I mean, look, I'm not saying that it's fair, but when someone has leverage, typically it's not going to be fair.
Absolutely.
It's the whole point of leverage.
Do you think Diddy giving back his masters undo his past mistakes?
Hell no.
Okay.
No.
He said, nah, buddy.
Yeah.
Let's get to it, man. Me and Mike both got stuff to do. Yo, Drake, we coming for you. Oh, also, speaking of Charlotte news. Yo, a lot of y'all went to that Ace Metaphor show.
Oh, you jump into it.
And I ain't seen none of y'all post about it saving your life, your relationship. I think that Ace Metaphor, I think he should start doing, or somebody, it won't be me because I'm too busy, should start doing before I met Ace, how my relationship was, and after.
No, why would he do that? But dude, they know they don't help, right? Ace.
Clearly.
I mean, I'm gonna be honest. The red pill thing don't help either, right? So like I hate saying this because I'm almost certain he listens to the show.
Let's do it.
I'm not gonna say it. Anyway, Coach, he listens. I'm pretty sure he listens, but like he doesn't help. Andrew Tate doesn't help. They don't do anything outside of what they do for men. Is they do help men save money and they do convince men to go to the gym.
Okay.
Right? But outside of that, they do not help because they ignore the fact that like, at the end of the day, men are still gonna chase women.
Look, I look at it. I saw videos, comments, posts about Poor Minds. I saw it about Rory Mall. I was there and I went there to hate and I left like seeing nothing but support because it was actually a dope show. 85 South, I've never seen a show leave Charlotte and people are already trying to get to the next show. We
gotta get to that level.
Yeah, look, Ace Metaphor came, he did 2 sold out shows, and I ain't seen y'all post shit. And the girl, let me tell you something. The reason why I believe that it was certain people placed in that room who I think those people that went there looked around the room and said, "There's no way I could compare myself to her." So what that looks like is, this 3 over here thinks that she deserves the high paying man, and I'm a 7, I'm a 9, I'm a 10, and I don't have him because I'm competing with her. That thing shouldn't happen. Neither one of y'all the number that y'all think y'all are, but I'm gonna leave it at that.
But I think it's beyond that though. I think people are getting exhausted because the only reason why the Derrick Jacksons and the Ace, the reason why they get momentum is because black men have been trying to counter those narratives. Chris Perry too, he's another one. Tony Gaskins, right? Now that I think that black men are to the point where they're more or less like they're moving into like the center and they're listening to more like pods like Black Dads Club, they're not interested in what that narrative, because what do we say over here all the time? We be like, yo, don't stop arguing with them. Like, don't give them your attention. They're not owed your gaze. They're not owed your attention. They're not owed your responses. Like, yo, just move on from it. And I think that's what's hurting them, because I think the good solid dudes are by and large just moving away from like, yo, I'm not engaging in that content, and I'm going to excommunicate these type men and women from my circle.
And
I think they're struggling now.
Absolutely. Well, I knew that because people ain't there. Like I looked around the room. I saw the dudes who was doing spoken word and poetry at that shit. They sounded slow. I'm gonna keep it real. I think a lot of y'all was, y'all was in the classes in the trailers at the high school, and that's fine. I look at it and I saw that, and I'm gonna keep it real. I tell every woman that sends me an Ace metaphor video, because me and bruh gonna see each other one day. I'm letting y'all know that right now. Mike don't like the drama. I love it. All right. I tell every woman.
Pastor Mike can't do the drama because Pastor Mike is too.
He grown. He got real shit going on, right? I put it like this. I think people like him are predatory in the fact of they attract certain women because they understand the trauma that those women deal with, the issues those women deal with, that they will always,
and they financially exploited.
Yeah, they look at it and say they are always going to be in need of something, and if long as we don't never fix their issue, they will always spend money, they will get us views, and they will help. So I think they're predatory in that regard. And I think that a lot of people got to deal with it. It's a reason why a lot of y'all read that Steve Harvey book and didn't learn shit. You know what I'm saying? It's a reason why people going to a show and then they not posting that, yo, in 6 months I found me a man. Shout out to Ace. I brung my man to the show.
But I don't think they even want that, right? Like I think people enjoy trauma bonding, right? Like everybody enjoys sitting around. Like if we had a pod, people often say like, yo, y'all bash women. We don't, right? We give everybody all their credit. No, we give everybody all their credit, right? Like we did not bash Kirk Franklin mom. She did that to herself, right? We just gave her credit.
Kirk Franklin bashed his own mom.
Kirk Franklin is bashing his mom, right? Like we just give people their credit, man. And I think that, men being fair, right? I think that's throwing people off because you've been told that like, yo, like, nah, black men not fair. Black men are blah, blah, blase, blase, blase. And then we show up and we're actually solid and we're like, yo, you're gonna have to raise up to my level. I think people are like, well, what do you mean? You're beneath me. And it's like, no, like you're actually gonna have to raise up to my level. Well, what do you mean, right? Because it's a million likes over here, and over here it's only 100,000. Like, no, like men are just saying like, yo, you're gonna have to do what I need you to do to be with me. If not, you're gonna be by yourself in that trauma bonding group.
Absolutely. Shout out in the word of not bashing women. Shout out to Tiana Taylor. Iman Shumpert was out there dating because we not in their business. We're not privy to their business. And she came out and said, yo, I'm letting y'all know he's not cheating. We're no longer together. Don't bash my best friend's name. Yeah. And I thought that was super dope.
That is.
Because she didn't have to do that. She could have let his reputation, his narrative, his image be dragged through the mud, knowing that they were already separated, going through a divorce. And she said, no, that's my best friend. He is out there doing his thing. Happy Divorce Week. Divorce Week in the looks of, yo, celebrities are letting us into their lives. Now I'm gonna let y'all know, I'm guessing Mike feels the same way. We don't give a damn about celebrities getting divorced as far as like it hurts us.
I do not.
Anthony Anderson got a divorce.
Man, dude, he has to pay her $20,000 a month in spousal support. and it does not say it ends. And it's California, so it may not end. And if he makes over $2 million, then he owes her 20% of that. Look, I am all for taking care of somebody. I'm all for like, yo, dividing up assets when you divorce. Spousal support forever. A law need to get passed on that. That's crazy.
Well, yeah, but he had somewhere there was an agreement.
Dude, there's nothing in life that you can leave outside of inventing a product and holding on to the rights of it that you can be paid in perpetuity.
Yeah.
That is insane to me. I do not understand it. I do not agree with it. I mean, people can say like, yo, $250,000 a year isn't a lot of money, you know, for somebody like Anthony Anderson, but anything could happen to Anthony Anderson, right?
Facts.
Like he could stop working, you know, career could fall off a cliff, could not get royalties.
He's super diabetic.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like $250,000 might be all he has at some point, right? We're talking about from now, the guy is 53 to, you know, 83, right? He's rich, right? So 83 is well within the range of outcomes for this man, right? Mm-hmm. So like, yo, like for real, like I'm gonna have to pay, and then I got to pay 20% of anything over $2 million on top of that.
Yeah,
yo, that is insane to me. And this is why, like, look, it gives the red pill pods ammunition. I'm still pro marriage. I am still pro marriage, right?
Me too.
Marriage is just the risk you take, but you are going to make more money in marriage than you're gonna make out of it, right?
Unless you're Jeezy.
Yeah, unless you Jeezy. You know, but I mean, still though, right? Like his last 2 years, the image that Jeezy was able to craft, right, to write a book, he's not able to craft that image and write a book
10 years ago.
10 years ago. Like him being married has made him more palatable.
Yeah, you know, Jeezy's getting a divorce. To be fair, we don't know why, but we about to play the game of speculation.
Well, the only one that made sense was the cultural differences.
Okay.
And I get that because, you know, I've dated somebody that's culturally different. Or,
I'm married to one that's culturally different.
Dating actually, put the ing on that, right?
Yeah.
It's like, it is a major concern, right? And like, I had to have a conversation. I was like, hey, like, you know, culturally, because y'all know I'm no Ben, right? So I'm like, yo, culturally, it's my culture, right? I can embrace yours. We could do some of the same thing. We could politic with it, but you know, the culture is what the father is, right?
Okay, so, I can see that. If that's what you want, you just got to find a woman who's down for
you got to find somebody that's down for it. So, like, you know, I'm looking at Jeezy, right? We've listened to his music. We know what type of person Jeezy is. I can see that becoming a problem. Like, yo, the whole family moving into the house because we have kids. I can see Jeezy being like,
that's
nah.
I can see him doing that as well. I know everybody's going to go to the culture thing, and I do think there is a conversation of, is this the downside of interracial marriage? You know, one of the weakest questions I believe that I get asked on every podcast is, yo, well, why didn't you marry a black woman? I always believe that is a weak ass question because there's no substance behind that question. There's no real, yo, I really want to dive deep into this question.
It's a shock question.
It's a shock question, right? So every time I go on a podcast, somebody says it, I laugh because I'm like, you don't give a damn why I married somebody like that. Because you are a black woman most of the time. Black men don't give a damn. I'm gonna let y'all know that now. When you go on black male podcasts, nobody's asking a black male, why didn't you marry a black woman? I'm giving y'all a heads up. And Dr. Umar doesn't have a podcast at the moment, and when he does, that will be a question.
He will get demonetized quickly.
Yeah, but so I look at it and I go, you know, there is benefits. You know, one of the people, nobody ever asked me, yo, what's the benefits of interracial marriage? I'm going to give y'all one right now. And before we get to Jeezy deep into it, one of the cool parts of dating somebody interracial, we don't have arguments. There's no race war in the house. And I'm not saying that is the reason why you should go out, because I think you should just love whoever you're going to love and y'all will do whatever y'all going to do. I don't have time to tell you how to love, who to love, and when to love. So, and I'm not going to do that here. But one of the struggle is there is a gender war within our community, right? And when you look at it, one of those things, me and my wife, we never had that issue. Now, Mike told y'all how he feels about it. For me, I look at it, when me and my wife got together, part of the dope part about us being married or dating was, yo, I got to experience new things I would never experience in my own culture, ever. Whether that's music, whether that's food, whether that's language, whether that's going certain places. So traveling is certain things that we was just able to connect on, and it was something new all the time. I don't know if the cultural differences was the issue for Jeezy, so to speak. I think the bigger issue was I don't think bruh knew who he was marrying.
Well, they did get married quickly, which I don't have
super quickly.
But
they met 4 years ago.
But here's the thing, though, right? I don't have a problem with that though, because they both was in their 40s, right?
Yeah.
So they were on the clock. If they wanted a kid, which evidently she did,
yeah,
they were on the clock.
They did,
right? Like, they were on the clock. So I get that. I get that. Now I'm gonna say this, right? A lot of times when it comes to divorce, and it's funny because actually this week is actually my divorcery.
Oh, I don't know if that's congratulations. I don't know.
Is it congratulations? I don't know. Now, on the 19th, right? So it's funny we talking about this, and that was actually, just this week. I think sometimes you get divorced and you could have worked it out. And I think that's a huge problem in our culture. When I say our culture, I'm not talking about black culture. I'm talking about American culture right now.
Okay.
Because even with like the whole gender wars thing, blacks amplified, but that ain't our shit, right? Men are from Mars and women are from Venus. That wasn't our fucking book. That book came out in the fucking 80s. Mm-hmm. I remember seeing on Phil Donahue sitting at my grandma's house. Okay. Right? So, like, the ideal of feminism, right? Like, this isn't black women thing, right? Which is also, you could be considered as a gender war, right? So, when you look at everything, I think sometimes we amplify it. But if we were more into, our culture, I think a lot of the times, a lot of the stuff you should work out. Like, marriage is not going to be easy, right?
Facts.
So, I think you should try to press through and work it out. Whatever Jeezy said the problem was, though, I gotta take the man word at it because he did it quickly, and I think that's the only time you really should get divorced is, when you get in that thing and you like, we gotta get out of this thing right now.
Well, Jeezy, first of all, Jeezy hasn't said anything.
No,
all this is BS, like speculation from some inside source who won't talk. But one thing I've always said about marketing is when the smoke is fire. And so to say that, I don't think bruh knew her. He didn't know who he was marrying because, when we had a kid, you come to find out, besides white and black, and I'm talking about African American, every other culture that happens.
Yeah.
If you go and look at it, and then if you go back to the old days, even in our culture, yes, when you got pregnant, family members from the woman moved into the home. Like, so, the funny part was when I went to go propose to, when I went to go ask my father-in-law for my wife's hand in marriage, her grandmother says, "Where's your dad?" And I didn't understand that.
Yeah.
And her grandmother said, in our culture, your dad comes with you. And I laughed and I told my dad, he said, no, that's how it used to go back in the day. He said, but generations down, black Americans just stopped doing that. He said, and my dad goes, it's a reason why I asked you, did you need me to go with you? He said, it wasn't. He said, because I knew that.
Let's bring that one back. I like that one.
And so I think it's certain things. I think certain traditions, because our generations has become this, we don't have to do things traditional, that when we start seeing people that are traditional and cultures, you need to figure out, a couple of things I always tell dudes who are dating Hispanic women in particular. I said, you need to figure out what type of Hispanic they are. You need to figure out if you got a white Hispanic or a black one. You need to do that. I don't give a damn. You need to figure that out. And you need to figure out if they traditional or not. Because
Gavin went there.
I always when black dudes like, what it's like, I say, you need to figure out, man.
Which one?
Because a couple of them Florida Hispanics, they think they Cuban and they think they white.
You gotta,
Nori told y'all he went to Spain and they called him a nigga. And he was like, I am actually, whatever. So I think it was there. I just look at Jeezy and I'm like, all right, bro. But when, the jokes is funny. They are showing Jeezy eating all this non-soul food type of dishes, and they are posting this was the moment when.
Yeah.
And one of the funny parts to make it a little bit light before we hop up out of here. Man, I had to taste my wife mac and cheese and greens, man, before I got married, dog. Because I was like, we're not giving this shit up.
Yeah, you got to do that right.
I went to a couple of Thanksgivings and I showed her a couple of expectations of my Thanksgiving before I got married, dog. Because I said, I can't do rice and beans for the next 30 years.
I like rice and beans.
Man, them shits is great.
I like rice.
You know what I'm saying? Rolling Stone, dog. I want to read this quote. We about to hop up out of here.
Oh, we good.
I want to read this quote. Because the quote from Jan Weiner or Winner, whatever. He's the dude. He's the co-founder of Rolling Stone, the magazine, which is a powerhouse in music.
Powerhouse.
And he says, insofar as women, I mean, they're just none of them. Hold on. Insofar as women, I mean, comma, there's just, and then it's a cut. None of them was articulate enough on the intellectual level. And then later down in his article, when he's talking about masters, they're just talking about his new book. He said when he was talking about black artists, because they brung up why he doesn't interview black artists. He said, well, they just didn't articulate at that level compared to the white male artists. I don't know why people are shocked.
I don't know why people are shocked of the Rolling Stones co-founder of all. Rolling Stones have been like the most problematic music magazine in the history of music magazines. So I don't know why anybody is shocked.
Me either.
He's absolutely wrong. But the fact that, here's the thing, right? The fact that you can find the roots of rock and roll, the roots of hip hop, the roots of disco, house, the roots of country music, right? That's literally the only one that we could probably share with someone else, right? We could share that one. But when you look at all these musics, right, they've been founded by one demographic of individuals, right?
Did you say jazz? They took it from us.
Yeah.
Jazz
I didn't say jazz. I didn't say jazz.
That's even American,
right? So when you look at soul, right, which is gospel, if you see Hillsong, right, there's no Hillsong without black gospel.
Absolutely.
Right. So when you look at
amazing doc, by the way.
Yeah, it is. So when you look at these people have created all these things, right, and then they own nothing, right, and if you don't look at that in the sense of it's because everything was taken from them, stolen from them, right, you just look at the fact that they own nothing. This is why they're looked at as they're not intellectual enough, right, because they've allowed somebody to take everything from them, right. So when he made that statement, that's how I heard it, right? And then that's what infuriates me, is because it's not just our musical, talents that are taken, right? We're talking about our foods that have been taken, right? The ideal of cola itself, right? Soda, not Coca-Cola per se, but cola, right? That comes from the cola nut. Go Google what a cola nut is. If you studied history when we was younger, they told you that the water would go stale when they go across the seas, right? So they had to bring lemons because they was catching scurvy. Just read up on the cola nut. Just check that out yourself, right? Don't take my word for it. Go look it up yourself. These are all things that are coming from us. So when I see the dude that has co-founded the Rolling Stone, probably with the help of a million motherfuckers, by the way, probably not do it on his own, and then he makes a statement like that, it's offensive, because it's you're right. We should own all this.
Yeah.
Right? We should, we absolutely should. But when you write the story as in these men created these industry and they were just so smart that they were able to take things from the stupid people, this is where you get these kind of opinions from. And this is why I just want to, separate myself from
when old white men who grew up during segregation and before express how they're sexist and racist, it don't shock me.
No, it doesn't.
It
always piss me off, man.
Yeah, and I understand, because you grew up 10 years removed from that.
Yeah,
right?
we were free, but we saw it was easy to understand how easy it is for somebody to take something from you. Right?
Absolutely. And so for me, I look at it, I told one of my teachers one day, I'm like, yo, your parents grew up in the 30s. I can't be mad at you, racist. I can't. It for me to get angry. One thing we forgot to say during the Kirk Franklin part, and I think we're gonna have to start saying this every podcast. And I'm gonna put it like this. I feel like we're gonna start saying it every podcast is, black men, stop waiting on a thank you and stop waiting on an apology.
Oh, absolutely.
Because you are wasting energy.
Yeah, you're wasting energy.
Because you're never getting it.
Nobody's going to apologize. Nobody's going to say thank you. But it goes back to what I said. It's the reason why I'm like, yo, men have to be stoic, right? You got to stop being like, yo, because I was traumatized, my hurt is going to affect somebody else. No. At some point, somebody just have to be the pillar of fucking strength.
Yeah.
And just be like, yo, all that shit stopped with me. Nobody else know that shit ever happened.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of, hold on, man. Last video, man.
Oh, I talked about being strong, and then Gavin gonna throw this in here.
Look, man, got to, man. I love when Love when a pod comes
A
together.
woman can be cheated on several times within a year. A woman could date you, right, Tashawn, and you, Ryan, 6 months later after, because she's crying, oh man, he cheated, I can't believe he did this, whatever, blah, blah. Then you come along with your light-skinned ass, and you like, okay, blah, blah. You do all this type of stuff like that, pour into her, and then she's with you and she'll fall in love with you, right? After he cheated on her 6 or 7 months ago, come right back and deal with it, because they're stronger than us when it comes to the emotions of cheating. So get back into a relationship, and you can cheat on her, and then a year later, she'll get back with somebody else. Maybe somebody that looks totally different. Maybe she'll go to a white dude or whatever, because she'll try something, whatever. For a man, we get cheated on.
He a villain.
Huh? Oh man, I'm no. And I wrote about this. I'll tell you, scarred.
Yeah.
You are scarred. And guess what scarred is, man? Scarred is one letter away from being scared. A woman can.
Yo, y'all stop putting music behind y'all videos, man. That shit get on my nerves.
Man, that was weak, bro. It was pandering.
It was.
It was pandering. Like men
Simp
can't.
post of the week.
Yeah, men can't handle cheating. Nobody can really.
Nobody can, bro.
Like,
y'all, why are y'all doing this?
Yeah, like women cannot handle cheating, right? And now I'll say this. Me and my bestie, we was talking on the phone, and I told her, I said, real talk. I was like, I said, we need to do DNA tests on every child being born at the hospital. Period.
Facts.
In marriage, out of marriage, right?
Facts.
And I was like, we sit around here, right? We're talking about Kirk Franklin mom today, right? We're sitting around here as if women don't cheat at all, right?
Facts.
The only way a baby gets here, and it's the wrong baby daddy, is through the mother.
Facts.
Men can't switch up their sperm, right? And I think I think the problem is our generation grew up in an era, right, where we didn't have the internet, right? You had to be smart, right? You had to study books. And what we was brought up, this is exactly how I was taught during the 90s, right? Is that you should always wear protection with the woman, because a woman can get pregnant at any time, at any time, any point, right?
Okay.
Now that we're grown, we know that that's not true, right? She has to ovulate, right?
Okay.
Now it's true in the sense of like, yeah, her cycle could be off, right? So that could be any time if she don't have a consistent cycle. But you could even buy ovulation strips. You can get these off Amazon for like $10 for a pack of 30.
If I had to give a girl an ovulation strip, bro, I'm out of here.
But here's the thing though. Do you want kids or not, right? So the only way that you can stay away from kids is birth control, which you got to put your trust in her.
Yeah.
Condoms, you trust in you. Ovulation strips, right? We're trusting each other, right? we have this understanding that we're trying to not have a child.
Yo, if you pull out ovulation strips to have sex, bro, get the fuck out of there.
Dude, you don't have to pull out to have sex. You take it in the morning.
Bro, we
Nigga,
not doing that.
You sexing all day, man. Like, yo, you go use the bathroom. Let me know if you're ovulating.
No.
I'm telling you, like, look, we have to get to the point where we stop having these out of wedlock babies.
Absolutely.
We have to. So it's like, yo, either you track it, right, on the app, or like, yo, you need to know when she's ovulating, because here's the thing, Gavin. If a woman's not ovulating, can she get pregnant?
I'm not a medical doctor. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not finna go there. Here's the thing. This is what I look at. I'm not having unprotected sex with women I don't trust. And I think we got to start getting men into this thing of like, yo, don't have sex with women you don't trust anyway. We know you're gonna be dumb and do whatever.
Facts.
But having unprotected sex with
a
somebody
woman, especially a woman you don't want to be with for the rest of your life.
I remember when I was younger, the conversation came up to me. I mean, not the conversation. There was a point in my life when I had to mature, and it took me seeing a couple of people have kids that I knew that they did not want to have kids with to say, all right, I am no longer, because it was already. It take one pregnancy scare for you to say, yo, or two. Or maybe three.
It should not take more than 2 pregnancies. Your first pregnancy scare you straight for about a year and a half.
But then after that second one, you like, yo, I'm dodging.
I didn't get married.
After that second one, you learn like, all right, no more unprotected sex with women I do not want to have a kid with.
True.
Then you do have to mature. And this is harder. This is when the discipline come in. Is, yo, maybe I don't have sex with women that I do not want to have kids with, because there is a lies. And then, yo, once you take the condom off, bro, it's hard to put it back on.
That is
a tough thing. So when I look at it,
stones may be easier.
Yeah. So I'm looking at it, I'm like, yo, a strip is a lot, because if I'm with you in the morning, clearly I'm cool with it. But at that point, bro, if you laid up with a shorty, you in her house in the morning, you like, yo, take the strip.
Yeah, like, yo, see if you ovulating.
Man, she ain't doing that shit, and I'm not handing her that shit. It's like, because at that point, I probably am, but you got to be loosey-goosey. But here's the other thing. I understand there's the idea of you got to stop having kids out of wedlock. That was something else I think we missed off of Kirk Franklin.
We definitely missed that off of, because this is an effect of out of wedlock,
and
baby.
You got to be careful, man. And it just sucks, man, because I remember when me and my wife, before, you know, my son is never gonna hear this episode because he's gonna find out that we had sex for the first time after we had kids, after, you know, we got married.
After I got married.
But like, I remember that time in my head, like, yo, am I okay with getting this woman pregnant? You know what I'm saying? Because of the actions that we were doing. And I was, you know, you start paying attention, bruh.
You know what I'm
saying? And when I wasn't comfortable with having a kid with her, we wasn't having sex because I'm like, oh, nah. I remember certain girls, I was like, yo, we can't sleep together no more because this bitch crazy.
But the reason that clip is in there is because it's a pander clip, right?
Pander.
And it gives the ideal that, you know, it's something that men can't handle. And the reason why I liked it came up at the end. It's not that men can't handle cheating, right? What men can't handle is the Kirk Franklin story, right?
Oh, facts.
Like what I can't handle is, you know, at being in my 50s and 60s and my child, somebody knocking on my door and saying, I'm your son. Like, come on, man. That is emotional labor that I should not have to deal with, you know, as a man,
Kirk
right?
Franklin was in his 50s and he going to another man's house.
Yes. He going to a
That's
70-year-old man house, right? Like, I don't want to be 70 and some kid knocking on my door, right? So it's like, so it's not, can we handle cheating, right? It's like, yo, what men can't handle is being lied to and manipulated, right?
Yeah.
You know, if you tell me a child is mine and then it's not my child, right? It's not the cheating. It's not like the cheat. Like dudes can handle their girl getting boinked. I've watched it, right?
Yeah,
I've seen dudes stay with women that have got boinked by another dude, right? You know, they were broke up for 2 days and she, you know, and then they're back together and she like, yo, she got. That was happening way before those 2 days started, bro. Right? So I've seen a lot of dudes deal with that, right? That what men can't deal with is, again, I don't want to be 70 and a 53-year-old man knocking on my door, right? I don't want to be 70 and my 53-year-old son is not my son. It's not the cheating that men can't handle, right?
Yeah.
No one is considering how hard it is for men to live in these spaces where we have to be damn near perfect anyway, right? And then something that we believe is shattered, right? Which is our children. That's the problem.
Absolutely, man. I want to thank everybody for listening. The reason why this podcast did not come out early this week is because of me. Mike definitely hit me up, and I had a lot going on. I was actually trying to redesign the studio and make it look more presentable. But yeah, I want to thank y'all for listening. Yo, if you see me at the Drake show tomorrow, please come up and buy me a drink. Fellas, newsflash. I do want to say this. That Drake show, go get the drinks. Do not let your girls get in those drink lines. They do not know how to navigate damn near drink lines at a stadium. Please, or bring her with you. I guess you don't want to leave your girl at her seat by herself, but please do not just send your girl solo dolo to go get lines of them drinks. I can't deal with what I dealt with at the Beyonce show. But yeah, with that, what you doing this weekend?
Taking it easy, my friend.
Look, man, that's good, man. Please, if y'all got any issues with this podcast or anything said, please take it up with Mike in his DMs. I am unavailable. And
hit me in the DMs, man. I'll always be nice.
Absolutely. Yeah, he actually is. And with that, we're going to holler at y'all next time.
Holler at your boy.